function. You know, like even in our own nature, we don't integrate our bodily functions, our sexual desires, our intellectualism, our spirituality. They're all disparate things. And what he's saying there about the way you're led through a city is interesting. Of course, you're not going to go and watch shit trundling down a pipe the same way you would a football match, although this podcast has tried to make it as central as imaginable. But it's an intriguing point. But check out this. The situation is thought that the only way to truly experience the reality of a city was to drift through it. What a bunch of lazy bones. Oh, the only way to experience the city is to just drift through it, drunk, not doing any work, or helping properly when the Nazis turn up. With no plan or agenda. They simply met at randomly chosen spots and set off. The only rules were that they didn't visit shops, places of entertainment, or any other capitalist lures, and they were not allowed to agree on a destination. That's amazing. They're French. They won't agree on anything anyway. It seems they did bring their own supplies of wine, though. Thank you for your enthusiasm for the subject. It's time we reclaim the cities for the people who lived in them. Best wishes, John. I like that email a lot, Matt.
Right, on that theme, right? I saw this thing where, for no reason, these people, you know, like when you've got it's an iPhone app or whatever phone app, right, where you go cycling. I had one, or you go running, right, and it draws your like route onto a map so you can see where you went. But people started doing it, so they draw like willies or draw a star or whatever. And so they just go for a walk or a run or a cycle that drew a picture, right? If you sort of, as the flaneurs or whatever, when they just sort of said drift, if you went like, let's choose a shape and then draw that shape on a map, then it would lead you into all sorts of places you would never go. Why don't you do that, Russell Brand, and work your way through the alphabet over the streets of London?
What about Russell Brand's Willy Walks? Willy walks around London with old
the shape of willies. And then you'd have to go back to the balls and do the pubes at the end of the walk.
Yeah, and the drip of spunk would be a hop, skip and a jump.
You'd have to get a cab. You'd have to turn the app off. Otherwise you'd be connected to the drip of spunk and it wouldn't work.
This drip of spunk is going to be a real challenge. I hope this comes up when we're talking to feminist Laurie Penny later in the show in an attempt to gain some credibility in the feminist community.
We'll do vagina walks too.
Hey! Oh, no. Don't try to riff on that comedically because we'll get in trouble.
What are you eating?
Don't say vagina.
I'm surprised she's still around.
Now listen here, there isn't actually anyone here except Nick Lennon marshalling this fiasco of a fucking podcast.
No, it is a fiasco, isn't it? I don't know. This is the last one. This is the last one of this run of 24.
But what worries me is have enough people listen to it. That's what worries all of us.
Some people have listened to it more than who were in it.
Because they're sending us emails.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So we're doing quite well. Hold on a minute. There was something I was going to say then that was brilliantly important and funny and absolutely everything we needed to be.
Very much.
No, there was. It was to do with these walks and everything like that.
Walks, willy walks, vagina walks, feminist.
Oh, yeah, that was to do with the willy walks. There's a bloke in Manchester, right, who went, you know, like when there's potholes. No, hear this, my friend. Some tell tale of a man in Manchester. That's how it got its name. There's a bloke in Manchester who, when there's potholes in the road, he draws willies round them so that the council have to fill in the potholes. People won't.
Yeah. They won't fix the pothole.
He calls himself Wanksy.
Of course he does. Yeah, they won't fill in the hole, but as soon as you draw a willy round it, it becomes obscene. Then they'll fill it in. Now Russell's going to say, yeah, I mean, it's the nature of reality. I mean, it's only when it's a phallus. I mean, maybe feminists are in control. The phallus is so offensive to reality. It's just a hole in the road, man. It's a hole in the road.
Well, I can take the next few minutes off because that was what I was basically going to say.
Get that banana out of your mouth, she said.
And into my what? My Botticello? Is that what you want?
Well, at least it'd be quieter for us. At least it would be further from the mic. It wouldn't,
because I'd be howling like a goose because of the sheer pain. My little bumhole's like a tear duct because I'm living a quiet life, not having it off these days.
Why would that make your bumhole bigger if you weren't having it off? What? Are you coming out?
I'm not prepared to answer any more questions on why the size of my Botticello is related to my sex
his
life.
bumhole has gone tiny because he's not having it off anymore. What the hell?
Well, that is a magician's inkwell.
What is going on? Busted.
That is...
he's not in Canada doing a film, is he?
No.
I am with Nick Cage, though. And there's more than a face coming off, baby. Let me tell you that. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that's the kind of thing I've been doing and saying with my life. What about your life?
This feminist interview is going to go very well, isn't it? We can't keep this show on the road. It just keeps falling into the ditch of foulness. You're going to...
I think the ditch of foulness is our base camp. We occasionally pop out for a quick butcher's at something cerebral, and then it's back into the gutters. Matt, I don't know how you're going to conduct this interview. I think it's going to be a real cock-up.
I'll tell you what, mate. If you throw that interview to me, I'm just going to sit here on my hands. I'm actually going to turn my mic down, just in case I feel so awkward I actually ask a question.
What, you do that to me? I hear everything I've done to you.
Although she won't know who I am, so she won't know that I've got a face like a man who buys Monster Munch from a petrol station. She'll think, oh, this is waitress quinoa salad man.
She's going to think you're a quinoa salad man. She's not going to be looking for a Monster Muncher.
I know it's funny and everything, but this isn't about comedy, this podcast, is it?
No, that's clear. Now, why don't we do some more of these bloody fucking emails? I went to Florence anyway.
What? That is not how human beings talk.
What?
There was no segue there. Let's do some more emails. I went to Florence anyway. Like you're arguing with the voices in your head. Which you probably
see some Caravaggios, mate. I see a Caravaggio of a Medusa drawn on a shield that really manages to capture the horror of the Medusa. Some say that's why Caravaggio was a great man.
Hang on, that's how Sinbad looking at Medusa in the shield. I suppose it's a classical myth.
It's Perseus. It's Perseus.
Is it?
I
haven't seen any Caravaggios up close.
You want to have a look at him, mate. That guy knew what he was doing. He was a master of the light, old Caravaggio. And he had a real darkness in him. He stabbed someone in a duel.
I do like looking at oil paintings up close because you can see how they did them. Sometimes you think, oh, right, yeah, it's not as good. I saw some Salvador Dali's up close and thought, it's rubbish up close.
What do you mean? What are you criticising Salvador Dali for?
Oh, look, he left a big fat bit of paint there and you can, you undermined him a little bit.
What you see behind the curtain a little bit, do you?
A little bit, a glimpse. No, just, you think, I could have done that little bit. Not the whole thing. And
you are quite good at art. I do remember you carved that picture of me into a desk with a knife and it was very impressive.
I don't remember this. You've mentioned this before. It sounds like I was obsessed with you and I was a teenage girl at school. I think you've
I saw it more that you were a whittling pirate man and just sort of dashed it out in a moment with a blade. I didn't see it as...
Was I? Where were we?
We were in Bethnal Green off of Whitechapel Road round Martino's house that he was soon to lose after being sacked from his job because one of us, who remained nameless, got on the roof of a van, drank gin and dry-retched onto a sobbing man.
Kicked out of his house because someone scratched a face on the table.
I don't think it helped with the landlord. When the landlord came, at that point, it was not even a famous person's face etched into a table with a butter knife. That's hardly going to help property prices.
I don't know why that's disappeared from my mind, because that's something I would remember, but... I don't know, maybe
yeah, well, you've left a lot of clutter in your brain, haven't you, really? And a lot of important things are just not there. Why don't you put on a new... Ain't you got a new... why don't you put a bit of a da-da-da-da on Pouchabell's Cannon from Woody's A701?
Pouchabell's Cannon is what I've been playing all the way through the last one, but do you want a bit more of it?
When I was talking to that geezer?
Yeah.
No, do a new one. What about classical music?
Do you know that this song, Pouchabell's Cannon...
Yeah, what about it?
It's the beginning point of a lot of pop music.
How?
That song, what is it? Don't Stop Believing by Journey. That sort of chord progression. It's all.
Where do you learn a thing like that,
Cannon.
Matthew?
Well, there was this thing on YouTube. Well, there's this comedy troupe who are a musical comedy troupe. I can't remember what they call it. Oh yeah, Axis of Awesome, right? And they do a thing which is amazing. You should look at it. Where it's like 4 chords, and then they keep playing the 4 chords over and over, and you sing hundreds of famous pop songs over them, and they all fit because that chord progression is just. It just works, and it's like, so there's loads. There's, I can't remember. Here's some of them.
Come on, have some facts.
Oh,
Where's
right,
the facts?
I've got the facts. Now, No Woman, No Cry, Let It Be, right? Bob Marley, The Beatles, Natalie Imbruglia, Torn, U2, With or Without You, Green Day, Basket Case, Aerosmith, Crying. There's honestly hundreds of them. It goes on, and each time they do it, they add, they keep it up to date. But that chord progression is the basis of a lot of famous songs.
So those of you that say that Matt and I live in the gutter, merely exchanging puerile scatological tidbits like a couple of monkeys picking shit off their bums and showing it to each other, must be feeling pretty embarrassed now that he said a thing that has some cultural value. This is from Barney Trouble, which is the most made-up name I think we've ever received. And if it's not a research from Audio Boom, I'd like a shiny coin for my trouble.
The Trouble family go, oh, it's happened again. No one believes us.
Trouble is out, well, not middle name, but surname. It's about lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming, says Barney, is something I've been playing with for around 18 months now. Let me just say, lucid dreaming's not a toy. It was great to hear Mafu, and he spells it that way, mention it on the podcast. When I first experienced it, I was so excited that I accidentally woke myself up, dirty devil. It's very, very hard to practice, and for me it was another 2 months before I did it again. The best way to describe it would be, compare it to daydreaming. When you daydream, something will jolt you back to reality, like in a cartoon when they jolt back to reality and like they go, Dennis, 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 and then, you know, and it's happening in reality.
Which never happens in real life, does it?
That has never happened to me. No one's ever gone Russell, Russell in a dream. Although there was one time when I was asleep on an immigrant's bed and I got shoved, and I do remember that in the dream I was having, on the immigrant's bed, I was shoved in that too. And then when I woke up, it was the actual immigrants like, shoving me to say, what are you doing in here?
Yeah.
And I said, well, if I was Nigel Farage, I could say the same thing to you. What are you doing here? But I didn't say that because anti-immigration rhetoric has never been old Russ's thing. Not even then, when I was in a room with some immigrants who were actually very kind to me.
Well, you were the immigrant in their room, weren't you?
I'd immigrated into their room. I was just there, and it must have been a very frightening thing for the elderly woman and children that flanked me.
Naked.
And my nude form on that bed there. But I saw him years later down the Dole office. It's a story I've told many, many times. Anyway, the fact is this, that in that instant, I do remember that there was a bit where I thought this is a bit like a dream. And also maybe, Matt, that time I caressed your furry buttock, mistaking it for the woman.
Furry?
Well, have you been using this lucid dreaming, Matt? I don't think you've got it in you to do a lucid dream. I bet yours is a right mumbo jumble of crud.
I had a dream the other day, and I remember it for some reason, that, you know, when you get a new phone, it's got that plastic screen protector on it, right?
Yeah. Are you ever tempted to leave that on?
Leave it on for as long as I can, which could up to about a week, I reckon I can keep it on there. Then I peel it off. I was doing that on a car windscreen. I had one over my car windscreen, and then people laughed at me and said, "You've still got the thing on your car." And then I was peeling it off, and I was at lights. I'd stopped with my hazards on to peel it off, and it was very hard to peel off. I only got about 2 inches off of the windscreen before. I mean, it was a terrifying dream. Really.
Did it splinter and shred, baby?
A harbinger of doom for humanity. No, it was just the plastic bit, and I was trying to pull it off. And it wouldn't come off.
Could you not get the whole thing off? That's what I want to know. That's the sort of thing that could crop up in...
I got a sort of corner of it off, and it was just flapping off.
Once you've got the corner, that's the body of the work done. It's a simple swish from there.
I had to get back in my car and I sort of, I was in a dream, so I don't know where I went, but probably to another dream.
The unconscious mind grappling in the infinite unknown there, using symbols and images to try and make sense of the madness of modern life. We're trying to do that in this podcast and all.
What I don't get about dreams is, right, you've still got who you are in the dream. So why don't you just go, well, this isn't possible. There's things happening in dreams, like where I'm part female and I'm still at school and stuff, and it doesn't even make any sense. Why doesn't the part of me that's me say... Why isn't the dream about me going, oh my God, I'm part female and I'm back at school? But I'm not. I'm just living my life good. Yeah, this is who I am. So why is that? That means that myself and who I consider myself to be is an illusion.
I believe so. And the process of our participation in reality is one of refinement. Like when you talk about your son, his approach to reality is very, very sort of open, and you can even witness the experience of him learning the rules and codes of, like, you know, remember you told me that thing about when you told him he was going to get some pirate coins. And what was that story again?
No, he was so he'd had chocolate money, you know, like gold coins that you open and there's chocolate in there. And then another day we were cutting stuff out of cardboard, and I made a load of circles and said, let's make pirate money. And we had gold paint, so I painted all these things, and I left them to dry on like a drying rack, like a thing you'd let a cake dry on, just so the paint would dry, and he'd get them sooner, because obviously as soon as you do it, I want to play with them. They're covered in gold paint, right? Then they dried. About 2 hours later, I said to him, look, the pirate coins are ready. And he was so excited and got them, and he peeled them open. They were just cardboard from a cardboard box. And like looked inside them and went, we can't eat this. And he threw them all in the bin, and he hated them. It took me about an hour to get him back down from his cloud of depression from it. But yeah, so in his mind, the reality was money, pirate money, has chocolate inside it. So the fact that we painted cardboard